Actually, I was fortunate. I worked in recreation work, city recreation work, almost 20 years. And I actually started officiating back then as youth ball. I not only set up and organized the leagues, but I ran and officiated most of them, from softball, baseball, basketball, football, and actually started a soccer program. First time the little community I worked in ever had soccer. And the fun thing about that was none of us knew anything about soccer. I knew nothing about soccer, but I was fortunate, and I learned to officiate as we learned to play. Fun thing, that's where I got started, was the training of my own officiating. So we did year-round programs in softball, basketball, baseball, and I basically learned on my own at that time. Yeah, I wish I could talk about the people that had influence on my career. That would take way too long. My wife would chew me out because I talk too much as usual. But I'm going to mention two real quick, and it's been a very blessed thing. One of them sitting and right in this room today is Greg Brewer. When I started back in high school officiating, of course, I didn't know him at the time. You'd hear his name quite often, and through the years, if anything ever happened, you did anything wrong, you heard from Greg Brewer. And had a couple instances and made mistakes, and I got maybe a phone call, because we didn't have emails and all that day. But that was some of my personal experience with Greg. But the more I had through the years get to know him, he gave me some opportunity to be a district director in volleyball for 15 years. And that was a challenge because it was all new and exciting. But the thing that I will always remember most about Greg, much as he and I could disagree, and we're talking, but the respect was mutual. But if Greg Brewer said, do what that rule book says and do, and I always tell all officials, go by that rule book. But you may want to disagree in this, that, and the other. You have your opinion. Go by what that rule says. You have total support from the State of Alabama High School Athletic Association. And I can honestly say that. And I always encourage that. I will today. I will still do that because his influence was so strong. He was definitely black and white. There wasn't no ifs, ands, or buts, but he was honest, and he was right about that. You go by that rule, you can't make many mistakes in officiating. And then secondly, a good friend of ours, and she's hopefully here tonight, Crystal Lewis, started 25 years ago officiating club volleyball, and USAV was sanctioned governing body. Crystal was our first mentor and trainer in officiating. And at that time, she was very disciplined and very factual, very knowledgeable, and she was very organized. It was something, that's one of my lesser talents, but she was such a leader for us. And so when we go do training clinics back then, we had to go and train all of our players and coaches and that type thing. We all went as a group. There's only 6 or 7 of us that started out in this group together. At that time, we didn't have local tournaments, so we had to travel together and that type thing. But the main thing I remember, like I say, she was so influential. She was very positive, very strong, dedicated person to what she did. And just seeing the commitment with her, and through those 25 years, we've also become best friends. But my belief in she and people like Greg, they did things the right way. It could be different personalities and different influences, but they did things the right way, and I take that to this day to be some of the most important things that influenced my life in officiating. Very fortunately, like I said, I've been able to travel and call a lot of college volleyball, and I was at the University of Lafayette, and they were playing Arkansas State. I'll never forget this coach. I've known for years. I've been calling quite a few years, and when they came there to play every year, it seemed like I got stuck with their matches. She got stuck with me. But this coach had a gruff voice, never smiled, always seemed to be sour, not a sourpuss coach, but just a different personality, like I say. And you almost didn't want to call her because you just knew what you were going to get, when you needed to. And with an R2 and a referee, I was the down official. We had the R1 up calling the plays, but I was in charge of the benches, the coaches, the timeouts, subs, and that type thing. And it so happened this match we were playing, this coach's team was playing terrible. She's on my right side, I'll never forgot. Now, if you look at me, you'll see I have little droopy eyes, okay? I have skin over. They just always like I'm half asleep, which is probably about right. My dad always said I was lazy, and I think that was part of my character, like I say, because of my droopy eyes. But this coach was real funny. Now I go back, I had a good time. She was coaching, and their team was, like I say, playing terrible. They couldn't make any good plays. And the girl hit the net, and I whistled and blew the net. And she looked at me and says, I didn't know if you were going to call it or not. I didn't know if you was waiting till you can see it. And I looked over and I walked toward her and said, Coach, I'll tell you what, I'm more awake than your team is. The first time I ever saw her smile. And from that point on, when I'd see her, she'd always kind of get a little grin, so I knew she never forgot. I never forgot. It was one of the best statements I ever made, a comeback. I wasn't good at that. But when I said that, your team, like I'm a more awake than your team, it hit home, and it was a fun experience. It was really a good time in my career of volleyball. I officiated with a lot of wonderful people, and I still do to this day. And I could put my wife right up there because we officiate a lot together still, and travel a lot together. But I've got to go back to my good friend Harry Shivers. When I first moved to Baldwin County in the early 90s, Harry was one of the few people I ran into early because he lived in Bay Minette, but we worked together in Baldwin County, and we did basketball, softball, football, actually did a little soccer together, and multiple sports. But he and I traveled together for over 25, 30 years together, traveling, doing umpiring, different sports, and we did so many games together. And I think because we traveled, had a lot of fun together, we played golf together, we did a lot of things together. I think working with him for all those years and just being around so much, you really get to know someone well, and you can, when you're officiating even together, you can read between the lines. You see their personality, you know what to expect. So I think because we got to do so much of it, and whether it's youth ball or high school or college softball or whatever, we traveled many hundreds and thousands of miles together. I think you just don't forget those things. We have a great relationship, and still do today, and he's one of my best friends. But he was a good mentor for me also. But I was very fortunate to know him and work with him for so many years. I was, like I say, fortunate to travel all over and with a lot of different officials. We did a lot more in volleyball traveling when I went to a couple places. But I'm going to say between Dallas, traveling to Dallas maybe, and to Tampa to call tournament matches on the weekend. Had a friend of mine from Mississippi. He had a van, a work van, cleaned it out. We put a couch in there, put some big lounge chairs in there, put bean bags, sit on. One guy had a blanket in the back, lay down on. We had 6, 7 of us travel together. We travel all the way to Tampa, call all weekend. We travel to Dallas, go do these tournaments. And the fun thing about that was you have to understand there was girls and guys, right? Some were married, some weren't, and this and that. We all had one room. We shared a room together. You can imagine 6, 7 guys and gals in one room. Crazy we all were. And of course, some of them had snoring problems, so you didn't sleep. We had to be starting matches at 8 o'clock, and you had to go somewhere to be there by 7. So you can imagine these females having to get up and wash that hair at 4 o'clock. Nobody slept. You didn't sleep. But the memories of those having fun together, laughing and cutting. We played cards in the van, anything to take our time, dominoes, whatever we had, but those were fun times. I mean, we did it together as a team. We all traveled. We'd travel 10 hours, 8, 10 hours in that van and come home and go to work on Monday. So those were quite exciting times and most wonderful memories probably I had. The influence of my family, probably like all of us, is above everything else. I want to go back to my mom and dad. And my mom taught school for over 40 years. Dad worked at Alabama Power Company. There were 4 of us kids. So I give you a little idea how important family and discipline. I learned early in life, so I didn't always use it right, but I did learn discipline and quality. There were 4 of us kids. I was the baby, and growing up, and I had older sister, brother, and sister, and myself. Mom taught school, as I mentioned to you. 3 out of the 4 of us never missed a day of school in 12 years. And it's kind of hard to say, but 3 out of the 4. And what I mean by that is then I think that influence of them, supporting and believing in me started from early ages. And so when I can transfer that on into going into college, one of my goals, I just tell you, I want to play football at Alabama. I thought I was a superhero player. I was just average, but I walked on to Alabama. My parents supported me. And I got a scholarship in the last few years. So I was very blessed. And I want to use that in the officiating world because that discipline and believing in me was important. And I've carried that all my life. My parents believed in me, and I think that has been the most thing I want to say when I'm gone and done. I want people to believe in me in the sense that I do things the right way, I learn the right way, and I hope I share those right things because I want them to know I believe in them. And sometimes through the years, I've been fortunate to work with a lot of them and see them progress. And I think just starting from the very beginning of my family, and of course now today, Lori's my wife, we've been able to travel the last 20, 25 years together officiating. We've been blessed. A lot of people don't get to do that. We do. And having her support and believing in me, and I've been able to believe in her, we've come a long way. But we've been able to give back. And what I want to maybe say that is the belief is important, being solid. I've been very fortunate to be blessed by so many people, and I want to give that back and believe in them, that they can make it happen, whatever they want it to be. Being in this Hall of Fame is, of course, if you're official and been around like we have, so actually brings tears to my eyes. It makes my heart just jump another level. It was quite a surprise, quite a shock. Never had dreamed of anything of that nature, and that wasn't a goal naturally, but we had to appreciate Greg Brewer for helping get this started. And it's respectful. You think about going to these banquets and looking at all these people sitting around in here in the last few years, seeing them, and there's tons of them, more than we ever imagined, in Alabama. And I listen to what some of these guys and gals have done. Wow, I'm small fish. But so, yes, it is a tremendous honor, and I've been so blessed. I can never say thank you to all the blessings that the good Lord has given to us by getting to know people and officials. That's opened a new world, and I've just been eternally blessed. And like I say, it's a special, special honor that I'll take tonight and say thank you to thousands of people for helping me.